1271, a monk was left to freeze in a ruined shrine on Sado Island. The Japanese state wanted him dead. They avoided direct execution. They let the hunger and the ice do their work. Yet, this exile did not break him. In that graveyard, he wrote the document that defined who you are when you chant. This text is the Kanjin Honzon, written in 1273. It is a doctrinal position paper, distinct from a letter of encouragement. This document defines your identity when you chant. It contains no instructions on how to chant. If you have chanted for years without seeing your environment respond, this text addresses your struggle. The environment is the mirror vows of your life. Nichiren Daishonin wrote these words from Sado Island. The Saha world of the present moment is the constantly abiding pure land, liberated from the three disasters. Its Buddha has not already entered nirvana in the past, nor is he yet to be born in the future. And his disciples are of the same essence. Look at his environment. It was a freezing penal colony. He was surrounded by hostile locals and the graves of outcasts. He lived in a tiny hut with wind blowing through the walls. Yet, he called it the Pure Land. The snow had not melted. Instead, the function of the space had changed. This is the first loop we must open. If the environment reflects your life, why did the highest enlightenment manifest in a graveyard? The answer lies in how Nichiren defined the object of devotion. Other Japanese Buddhists had used scrolls before him. They used paintings of Amida or statues of Shakyamuni. Nichiren rejected these forms. He saw them as narrow. He wanted an object that reflected the entire universe. He wanted a mirror that showed the mutual possession of all states of life. To understand what the scroll is, we must look at the blueprint of the cosmos. In 6th century China, a Buddhist master named Jiji formulated a principle called Ichinen Sanzen. This translates to 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. It is the concept of a holographic universe. In a physical hologram, every fragment of the film contains the entire image. If you shatter the plate, each tiny piece still shows the whole picture. Jiji taught that your life is exactly like this. Every single moment of your consciousness contains the entire spectrum of existence. It contains the 10 worlds, from the hell of suffering to the Buddhahood of absolute freedom. It contains the mutual possession of these states. This means that when you feel trapped in the lowest state of life, the highest state is still fully present in that very second. The environment and the mind are one. But there was a problem. The Tendai school taught that you had to perceive this universe within your own mind through silent contemplation. They called this Kanjin, or mind contemplation. A practitioner had to sit in silent meditation. They had to quiet their thoughts, to search their own consciousness. This was the practice of Makashikan. It required monastic discipline and a quiet space. Nichiren analyzed this method and realized its limits. In the latter day of the law, the age of Mappo, the environment is too chaotic. The minds of ordinary mortals are too clouded by anger and greed. If you tell a struggling person in a degenerate age to sit in silence and observe their own mind, they will find their confusion instead of peace. The old method had failed. The gem of the 3,000 realms was real, but the path to reach it was blocked. Everything you need to go deeper is at NMRKOB.com, or follow the link in the description or pinned comment. This block was resolved on Sado Island. Nichiren faced extreme pressure. The Tsukuhara Graveyard was a site of constant danger. He suffered from freezing cold and constant hunger. He lived under the shadow of death. This environmental pressure functioned as a crucible. In science, a crucible is a vessel that subjects materials to intense heat to purify them. Under extreme pressure, substances change their state. A gas compresses into a liquid crystallizes into a solid. Nichiren's consciousness underwent a similar phase transition. His physical environment remained identical. The wind remained cold. The local soldiers remained hostile. Instead, the pressure forced his inner realization of the holographic universe to project outward. The subjective act of observing the mind could no longer remain hidden in silent thought. It had to crystallize. In 1273, Nichiren inscribed the first Gohonzon. He took the vast, abstract concept of the 3,000 realms and projected it onto a paper scroll. He used calligraphy instead of drawings to map the entire cosmos. At the center, he wrote, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. To the right and left, he seated the Buddhas, Shakyamuni, and many treasures. Surrounding them, he placed the 4 leaders of the Bodhisattvas of the earth, led by Jogyo. Below them, he placed the representatives of all other states of life, from the gods of heaven to the outcasts of hell. This scroll became the mirror. Nichiren wrote that a physical mirror reveals your face, while the Gohonzon reveals your Buddhahood. When you face this scroll and chant, you look at a graphic print of your own enlightened mind, rather than praying to an external deity. The act of chanting Namu Myoho Renge Kyo is the acoustic key that activates the mirror. Kanjin transitioned from silent search to active resonance before the scroll. This phase transition leads to a radical definition of your identity. In the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni Buddha summons a vast host of majestic beings. They emerge from the earth, led by Bodhisattva superior practices. They are the Bodhisattvas of the earth. Shakyamuni entrusts them with the propagation of the law in the latter day. In the Kanjin no Honzon-sho, Nichiren makes a direct link between these figures and the contemporary practitioner. He states that in this degenerate age, the Bodhisattvas of the earth will spring up again to spread the law. When you chant Namu Myoho Renge Kyo in Mappo, you stand as an active participant. You are the heir to this lineage. You are a Bodhisattva of the earth in your own right. This quote defines who you are. Now the Bodhisattvas who are disciples of the original Buddha should appear from underground and give the good medicine. That is, the 5 characters Myoho Renge Kyo to the ignorant people who have not yet been given the seed of Buddhahood. The Kanjin no Honzon-sho passages I cite in this video are explained in detail as members-only Gosho studies on NMRKOB.com. As a vow keeper, you read the deep doctrine every week that I can only touch upon here. You can find the link in the description. Let's return to the identity of the practitioner. Different Buddhist schools read this text with different conclusions. Nichiren Shu views Nichiren as the reincarnation of Bodhisattva superior practices, acting as a prophet for the eternal Shakyamuni Buddha. In contrast, Soka Gakkai and Nichiren Shoshu view Nichiren as the primordial Buddha who discarded his transient identity to reveal his true self. Furthermore, The mechanism of chanting has its own debates. Long-term practitioners often debate the use of Namu versus Nam. Linguistic analysis shows that the 7 characters of Namu Myoho Renge Kyo represent the complete acoustic resonance of the law. The U in Namu adds the physical voice to the calligraphic mirror. Regardless of sectarian views, the text remains ambiguous. Nichiren avoided simple instruction manuals. Instead, he wrote a map of your potential. This map brings us back to the freezing winds of Sado Island. We can now resolve the paradox of Esho Funi. If the environment reflects your life, why did the highest enlightenment manifest in a desolate graveyard? It did so because the environment was the forge. Ordinary understanding of Esho Funi suggests that your practice should magically alter your physical surroundings. It implies that if you chant, the cold wind should stop blowing and your difficulties should vanish. Nichiren's exile shatters this expectation. The physical reality of Sado remained unchanged. The temperature remained below freezing. The outcasts' graves remained nearby. Yet the function of that space was completely transformed. The Tsukuhara Graveyard ceased to be a place of punishment. It became the exact coordinate in time and space where the ultimate object of devotion was inscribed for the future. The penal colony was repurposed as the capital of eternally tranquil light. This is the payoff for the long-term practitioner. When you chant for years without seeing your environment respond, you are facing your own Sado Island. Your physical illness and financial limits represent the crucible rather than failure. They are the thermodynamic pressure of the crucible. They are the exact conditions required to forge your Buddhahood. The environment requires no physical change for its meaning to be transformed. By chanting Namu Myoho Renge Kyo before the scroll, you step into your true identity as a Bodhisattva of the earth. You repurpose the storm. The obstacle ceases to be a barrier. It is the material for your enlightenment. The scroll Nichiren wrote from exile defines who you are. It shows that you are the eternal Buddha operating in the middle of the storm. It proves that the graveyard and the pure land are the same place.